Welcome, everybody.
Hey, hey.
Work smarter where you want.
This is learning at its most fun.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me for today's Best Practice Partner webinar. My name is Austin. I am a trainer and subject matter expert here at Redtail Technology. Today, I have my friend Tony from Morningstar. He and I are going to be presenting on how to better prepare for the next market crisis. So we're going to take a deep dive into Morningstar's Office's scenario analysis tool about how you can better prepare portfolios for crisis and help to set client expectations. So Tony, why don't you go ahead and start us off with an introduction to the scenario analysis tool in Morningstar Office.
Sounds great. Thank you. First of all, let me quickly share my screen. And we'll get started momentarily here. All right, hello everyone. My name is Tony Shea, and I'm responsible for the product development of Morningstar Office. Now, before I get into the demo portion, I want to take a quick moment to talk about the whys, as in why we think scenario analysis is an important tool for independent advisors and their clients. So at its core, scenario analysis is simply a process of analyzing future events by considering alternative possible outcomes. For many investors, having a tool to facilitate this process provides a common language for communicating risks, either in a security or a portfolio. This is important because it's often difficult to formalize and visualize the notion of a big crash, as it can mean different things for different people. Having a tool to illustrate this provides a way for investors to more easily appreciate and comprehend this notion of risk. For advisors, this should help provide the means to conduct what-if analysis and forecast how client portfolios would reasonably perform under various market conditions. This next level, in-depth conversation with your clients about their investment portfolios can really put things in perspective as they relate to their financial goals. Simply put, this new capability allows advisors to do their jobs better in serving and guiding investors. So last summer, we introduced this scenario analysis tool in Morningstar Office Cloud to analyze funds and ETFs. And recently, we've extended this risk modeling capability to client accounts, model portfolios, and custom benchmarks. For ease of access, we added a new tab called Scenario Analysis into a number of default analytical views designed to analyze client portfolios. For our demo today, I've created a custom view with a collection of components, including the two components that make up the Scenario Analysis tool. Let's take a quick look at the top component, Scenario Trend. So similar to the same component available for investments, you can select a number of market and macroeconomic scenarios to model the potential impacts to a client portfolio. This component defaults to 4 predefined scenarios. For example, the 2007 to 2009 subprime crisis and subsequent financial crisis. Since our initial release in February this year, we've added 2 scenario groupings in addition to the predefined historical scenarios. And to access these, simply go into the component settings and click on Scenarios. The newly created novel coronavirus outbreak scenario can be found under the macro financial scenarios grouping. As you'll notice, the microcopy below each scenario provides a quick description. And for these macro financial scenarios, we can see the variables that are being shocked in our modeling. For this COVID-19 scenario, we are negatively shocking the price of oil, 10-year treasury, and positively shocking the price of gold. Now let's take a look at the features of the scenario trend component by focusing on the COVID-19 scenario. First, you'll notice that the duration spans the length of the projected event and shows cumulative returns for this client's portfolio if this event were to happen today. In addition to the cumulative return calculation, you can easily switch to a different calculation method to provide a different lens on portfolio risk. For example, drawdown. This data point is a popular indicator of a portfolio's downside risk, which measures the peak to trough decline during a measurable period for an investment, fund, or client portfolio. So an interesting use case for this component is to compare the client's portfolio against a benchmark. To do that, simply go back to component settings, click on display benchmark, and search for an index or fund of your choice. I will use the Morningstar US market return or market index for illustration purposes. As you'll notice, this US equity-centric portfolio behaves very much like the index in this forecast. So when you do a comparison analysis like this, the scenario trend component will only model one scenario at a time. And because of the flexibility that we built into the cloud program, you can easily drag and drop another scenario trend component for a side-by-side comparison. Simply go into the edit pane, select the scenario trend component, hold, drag, and drop. And there the program automatically draws the scenarios that you want to model. So let me get out of here, click done. And another interesting use case is to use it to make a portfolio recommendation to a client. Specifically, the scenario trend component allows you to compare your client's portfolio with a model portfolio. And in the similar clicks, go into component setting, click on display benchmark, user created, model portfolios, and you'll find all of the model portfolios that you've created in your login. I will select the absolute return model for illustration purposes. So this model's exposure is more diversified across different asset classes and is not overly dependent on the direction of the broad equity market. As you can see, the drawdown comparison between the client portfolio and the model is quite apparent, where the model is much less volatile and can be used as a risk management strategy. Okay, so now let's take a look at the second component, scenario metrics. This component is relatively straightforward as it simply calculates 5 portfolio statistics based on the selected scenarios. For example, the total return of this portfolio, if the financial crisis were to happen today, is projected to lose about 43%. Now, with these basics in mind, I want to show you an interesting way to use these components with other portfolio analytics to help paint the picture of why we should make rush decisions based on current market conditions. So recall the notion of a big crash. Well, here I have a forecast of my client's portfolio simulating what would happen if the financial crisis were to reoccur by using the predefined financial crisis scenario. Now below this chart, I have the historical return and market value components to illustrate what actually happened to this client's portfolio in the last 15 years, which spans over the duration of the financial crisis and the subsequent bull market. As you can see, in the historical return component, 2008 was a painful year for this equity-centric portfolio. But in the span of the last 10 years, this portfolio did quite well, with only 3 down years. Now, looking at this from a market value perspective, we know that this client suffered a sizable decline during the crisis. But because we stayed the course, the client's assets had more than made that back in the subsequent rally. Now, lastly, we know our users love to share this type of analysis with clients and colleagues. And to help with that, we have an export feature, which is standard in our analytical components, to create a PDF report or an Excel spreadsheet, depending on the component. Here's an example of the scenario trend component in a printout format and a PDF format. Now, for those that want to deliver this as part of a bespoke report output for your next client review, we have added these advanced risk analytics to our custom reporting tool, Presentation Studio. Now, in the interest of time, I have created a custom template and published it to my login. So let's take a quick look at the sample output. Here, I have a quick 2-page report, calling it a performance review, using 4 components. The top left is a performance component by account, and it can list multiple accounts if you have a client aggregate or household. On the right is just a portfolio growth chart, looking at the market value from inception. And the bottom 2 components on the first page are returns. One is trailing return, and the other is the calendar return component. On the second page, I have the 2 scenario analysis components in this custom report output. So scenario trend and scenario metrics. And that concludes my demo of the scenario analysis tool for client portfolios in Morningstar Office Cloud. Back to you, Austin.
Thanks, Tony. That was awesome stuff. Let's jump now into Redtail CRM and see what some things that Redtail's doing to help you also prepare for your next client review. Just a moment here to share my screen. All right, awesome. So what I wanted to address to the audience's attention is this article here that the training team and I worked on to basically show you how to use your CRM as a component of crisis management. And so I'm going to go ahead and just grab this link here, and I'm going to share it with everybody in the chat option. So if you go to the meeting options there and click on the chat, you'll be able to see the link that I just posted, which will take you to this page here. We did do a previous webinar on your CRM as a crisis management tool. So if you'd like to watch a recording of that, you can, but I'm just going to go ahead and give you sort of the highlight reel of some of the things that we talked about. So right here, you can click to download what's called our companion guide. And that is just a PDF file that talks about different strategies that you can use for using your CRM as a component of crisis management. And so to highlight just a few today into Redtail CRM, I think a very important thing that you can do during a crisis is to be in communication with your clients. And so 3 ways that we recommended doing that was, first off, with video conferencing, using that powerful tools like Zoom, WebEx, GoToMeeting. There's a number of different video conferencing tools out there that you can help address some of your clients' concerns with when you can't necessarily meet with them in person. Another powerful tool found inside Redtail CRM is the broadcast email tool. And I think this now would be a great time for you to start beginning to develop out some email templates that you have ready to go when it comes time for that next crisis or major market dip. And so to show you sort of what I mean by that, let's go ahead and jump into Redtail CRM. Here I am on my Today page. What I'm going to do is just go ahead and jump to my name in the top right-hand corner. And I'm going to open up the Manage Your Account section. Under the Manage Your Account section, there's a section called Email Templates. And so if you use the internal email tool located within Redtail CRM, you can create for yourself templates that allow for you to be able to send out emails quickly without having to type them out each time. So some examples that we wanted to provide for you include examples such as being able to send quickly market updates, or giving your clients reassurance that there's no need to make any knee-jerk decisions like Tony illustrated today. Markets tend to rally after they fall, and so we can rest assured that our portfolio will be okay because we hired a financial advisor that knows what they're doing and can help us guide us through this crisis. And then the last would be just to illustrate your thought leadership and showing that you are an expert when it comes to mitigating the risks associated with crisis, like you've demonstrated with your scenario analysis tool inside Morningstar Office. And so to give you an example on how that looks and works in Redtail, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and pull up a list of my active clients. I have a saved search criteria here. So these are my active AAA clients, my high value clients. Here's 29 of them. And so if I wanted to quickly get an email out to all of them using the broadcast email tool, what I can do is just go ahead and select them all from the list here. I'm going to choose the contact options here on the right-hand side, and then choose the bulk actions menu. And under the bulk actions menu, we find this option here, which is for broadcast emailing. And as you can see, when I choose this email template, I can pre-fill my email to those 29 clients with whatever information I want to send them. So for example, if I wanted to send them a quick market update about what we're seeing in the markets today, we can go ahead and quickly just copy and paste some market news into here, or fill out whatever variables that the market might be doing, like dip in oil prices, treasury bonds, etc., just like Tony illustrated. There's also market templates available for stuff like reassurance, and creating a template to just let you know, here's a message from our CEO that we're in an uncertain time right now, but rest assured your portfolio and financial future are in good hands. So, and then the final communication tool that I wanted to highlight today is the Redtail Speak platform. So this is an additional product that Redtail offers. It's not included in Redtail CRM, and it is something that you'll need to have approved by your broker-dealer before adding to your subscription. But what it does is it adds a text message component to the CRM system. So here in Redtail Speak, you can see that I have a number of different communication channels. The first of which is I can communicate with my team members using group messaging, known as public rooms. So for example, if I needed to send out a broadcast message to my team, I can visit the general room here, or maybe I want to speak with all of the advisors in the office, I can go to the public room for advisors, and the advisors will be here to communicate in a group setting. I can also communicate individually with my teams. This is greatly important when we have to work remotely, as we experienced in the last market crisis, that we're no longer allowed to, be in close proximity with each other. And so we need to find creative ways to be able to communicate effectively. And what better way to do that than right from our CRM using the team rooms. So for example, if I needed to communicate with my colleague Haley here, I have the ability to just send them a message. They'll go ahead and log it to their CRM or check it out on their Redtail Speak mobile app to be able to see the message that I'm sending to them, and we'll be able to collaborate on whatever project or client that we're currently working on. And then the last form of communication is just the ability to send text messages. So for example, if Daisy was my client, she's my dog, but if she was my client, then I would be able to send her text messages as well, giving her things like market updates. So as you can see here, here's an example of a market update that we sent to Daisy, just letting her know, yes, we did see some volatility in the markets this morning as a result of oil prices and confirmed cases of COVID-19. Let us know if you have questions, and then we can even integrate this platform with our Riskalyze portfolio too, so that way we can send risk scores and such. So Redtail Speak is a powerful tool to help you communicate not only with your team, but also to your clients during a crisis. And so I highly encourage you, if you have the time available, to check out this companion guide to talk through a lot of the different strategies and tips and tricks that the Redtail training staff has for you as far as using your CRM as a component of crisis management.
Thanks so much for joining us today for this particular session. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to give us a call at 800-206-5030, option 3 for support, or just shoot us an email over to support@redtailtechnology.com. Thanks a lot and have a great day.